Rachel paced the street. The sun was shining brightly, the birds were singing, but nothing pleased her. It was hard for her to feel happy when she had been released from prison just 3 weeks ago. She had been sent there as a young pregnant girl, but she didn't even know she was pregnant at the time. Everything was very confusing. Rachel's parents drank heavily. She had never met her grandparents and only knew that her mother had run away with her father, who quickly abandoned her. Therefore, the girl never saw her daddy either. But in her short life, a veritable row of the men passed before her eyes. Her mother, Grace, changed husbands like a pair of gloves, and she made her call each of them daddy. Rachel loved her mother very much. She hadn't any relatives else. After finishing school, the first thing Rachel did was enrolling to the college with a dormitory. She didn't care what profession she would have. The main thing at that moment was to move out from under her mother's roof. Life in the dormitory turned out to be a lot of fun. There were no drunken parties or fights, but she had roommates with whom she cooked, walked, and looked for work. Rachel got lucky in this regard, as none of her roommates were unemployed. They had 3 girls in their room, and none of them were lazy. Rachel was hired as a waitress in a cafe, and her roommates were hired there as well to wash dishes and clean vegetables. Rachel happened to be the prettiest of the 3. One evening, as they were returning to the dormitory, a group of guys caught up with them. They weren't making any vulgar jokes or anything like that. They were simply seeing them off to the dorm. Rachel noticed that one of the guys was looking at her. His name was Adam, and he was the most handsome. Then everything was like a fairy tale. Flowers, sleepless nights, love. Rachel was over the moon, and when Adam invited her to move in with him, she didn't hesitate for a second. They had been living together for 2 weeks when she bumped into her mother's neighbour. "Rachel, is that you? I didn't recognize you. You've blossomed and become prettier," said the neighbour, and Adam looked at her with interest because Rachel always avoided talking about her parents and relatives. "Hello, I'd love to chat, but we're running late," she said, pulling Adam along. But the woman quickly interjected, "Wait, Rachel, why don't you visit your mother? She looks terrible. Her new lover beats her." Rachel sighed. "All right, I'll come today." The neighbour left, and Adam turned to Rachel. "Let's go to your mother's place now. Maybe she needs some help." Though reluctant, Rachel agreed. Adam came from a good and wealthy family, and she didn't want to show him the conditions in which she lived. But he was the kind of person who, once he decided something, couldn't be stopped. They arrived at the right address, and Rachel opened the door. Adam looked around in horror. The tattered wallpapers, the dirt. The further he went into the apartment, the more expressive his face became. And when they entered the room and saw Rachel's drunk mother with a bruise under her eye, he said, "I hope you understand that we can't be together anymore." Rachel was sincerely surprised. "Why? What do I have to do with this?" "Are you kidding? Tomorrow I'll send your things here," he said, and left. Rachel remained standing in the middle of the apartment, listening to her drunk mother shouting, "Rachel, my daughter has come." She sat at the table and cried. Happiness was so close. She almost believed that nothing like this would happen again in her life, and she had foolishly refused the dormitory when she moved in with Adam. In the evening, when she practically cleaned up the flat, Rachel heard the front door open, and a healthy man burst into the kitchen exclaiming, "Wow, we have guests, and such pretty ones too." He grinned slyly and continued, "I'm your mother's husband, and you must obey me. Come here." From the room, like a fury, Rachel's mother flew out and yelled, "Get your dirty hands off her!" But the man waved his hand and sent her to the wall. He was advancing, throwing off his clothes as he went, and Rachel realized that it was the end for her. Suddenly, she felt something in her hand. She was sentenced to 5 years in prison, and only there she discovered she was 15 weeks pregnant. Upon giving birth, the prison doctor told her, "You won't have a normal life anymore. 1 in 1,000 might become a normal person after such a long sentence. Give up the child. He will be adopted and everything will be better for him." For several nights Rachel cried hot tears and eventually signed the necessary documents. "My son, let good people take you away as soon as possible. Let them love you and make everything fine for you." After being released, Rachel realized that one could really put an end to herself and her life. No one would hire her for work, and she didn't even have enough money to dress properly. It was a vicious circle. Rachel simply didn't know what to do. Thinking about her sad life, Rachel was walking to the address provided by the job centre. A janitorial position was available there. She was about to turn the corner when she suddenly stopped abruptly. She thought she heard someone whimpering nearby. It didn't sound like a kitten. It sounded more like a puppy or a child. She looked around, but she couldn't see anyone. However, the whimpering continued. Rachel looked down and saw a half-open manhole. She got closer, and indeed the sound was coming from there. Rachel knelt down and moved the cover aside. She leaned over, trying to see what was down there, and then she gasped. There was a child. He was crying plaintively. "How did you get there, little boy?" Rachel asked. The boy lifted his head. "Mum, help me. I was walking, and I wanted to look down there, and I fell." Luckily for the boy, it wasn't deep, and there were some pipes down there, and the boy was sitting on them. "I shouted, but no one heard me," the boy continued to explain. Rachel carefully descended. Finally, she stood on the pipe, which turned out to be strong enough. "Okay, I'll help you up," she said. She pushed the boy upstairs and then looked at herself. "Yes, now they definitely won't hire me in such dirty clothes," she thought. "But tell me, hero, where do you live? How did your parents let you go alone?" The boy trustingly put his hand in hers and told her, "I only have a grandmother and grandfather. They thought I was sleeping, but I don't like to sleep during the day and always climb out the window. But usually I play outside in the garden, and today I made a bet with my friend. I said I would go to the other side of the road." "Well, well, your grandma and grandpa will definitely scold you," Rachel replied, trying not to think about her son. The boy thought for a moment. "No, they never scold me. They love me very much." While they were talking, they approached a large house, and Rachel stopped and pressed the bell. The door opened immediately, and a weeping woman of about 50 was standing on the threshold. Seeing Cooper, she waved her hands. "My God, where have you been? Grandma and Grandpa are at the police now." She took the phone out of her pocket, and while it was ringing, looked at Rachel. "Oh my God," she exclaimed, and Rachel felt that the woman saw a ghost in her face. At that moment, someone answered the phone, and Helen spoke. "Cooper is here! Just come quickly, you won't believe your eyes." Rachel wanted to say goodbye, but the woman firmly took her hand. "Please don't go. You saved our Cooper. His grandparents really want to see you. Please wait for them." Rachel looked embarrassedly at the woman. "Thank you, but I'm in such a state. It was very dirty in the sewer." "It's okay. I'll clean up later. Come to the room. Make yourself comfortable, and I'll bring tea now." Cooper opened the doors wide and exclaimed, "Come in. I love playing in this room. There's plenty of space here," and indeed there was so much space that Rachel felt a bit lost. However, she soon noticed something that made the strange behaviour of the housekeeper understandable. A large portrait of her was hanging on the wall. Rachel took a few steps forward while Cooper began running his train on the railroad. She gazed silently at the portrait of herself, which was simultaneously familiar and unfamiliar. Rachel had never had hair as long as the woman in the portrait, and even before prison she had always preferred trousers to dresses, and here she was, wearing a light flowered dress. Suddenly the door slammed open. Cooper ran over to an elderly woman who appeared to be about 60 years old, but her deeply etched wrinkles suggested she had experienced a lot of pain in her life. The woman looked at Rachel and swayed. "Grace? Rachel turned her gaze to the portrait, wondering if the woman might be her mother, because she remembered her with bruises and short tousled hair. "My God, Rachel, it's you!" the woman exclaimed as she rushed over to hug her. The elderly man who had come in behind her grabbed his heart in surprise. After an hour, everyone sat at the table, while Rachel, leaning her head and staring at the table, listened. "Many years ago, Grace fell in love, but all her boyfriend did was hanging out and drinking. We locked her up and tried to talk to him, but she ran away with him. They changed several cities. We found her twice, but she was an adult. She wouldn't listen to us. Then she moved away, and for a while we lost the thread that connected us. It wasn't until she died that we found out about your existence. We were devastated, and Grandpa started looking for ways to get you out of prison, but to no avail. Then you gave birth, and they transferred you to another prison, where we were not allowed to visit. We used up all our savings to get Cooper back. Rachel, according to our calculations, you weren't supposed to come back for another year. They let me go earlier. I just can't wrap my head around why my mum didn't tell me about you. Will you let me stay with you and Cooper?" "Of course. There's no other way we would let you go," said the elderly woman. Rachel couldn't hold back her tears any longer. "So I can tell Cooper that I'm his mum?" The elderly woman nodded, and Rachel jumped up from the table and ran to the child's room. She entered the room and sat down next to her son on the floor. Cooper hugged her. "Cooper, my dear son, I missed you so much," she said with a smile. "I always waited for you. I knew that my mum would come one day and stay with me forever," said the boy.